The first quote that I'm talking about, found in chapter 2, is a leader may have status and is still not able to influence how others behave. This is found in section 2.4 that discusses power. And I think that the author is demonstrating that although a person can be well known and have importance in a group or team, basically having status, they're not entitled to power. Power is influencing through communication, which is not always present when someone is a leader by status. An individual can be popular with a good reputation, but they still may not be able to communicate ideas with others or delegate or lead properly due to other reasons or personality flaws or communication issues. This is important. This quote is important to me because I find that the terms are often used interchangeably, like the text describes, and I think that learning how to distinguish one from another will be beneficial throughout my time in the workforce, especially if I do become a leader, and just being able to be self-aware in that situation. Second quote is, some people have a gift for leadership, meaning it comes naturally to them. Others have to work at developing their leadership abilities. This was found in section 2.1, which was titled Leadership Approaches. This quote is pretty straightforward to me. Some people have personality traits from a young age that makes them feel comfortable in a leadership position. They could communicate well with others without any issues, and they just they're easy to get along with, and unfortunately this isn't always the case. If you're shy, if there's some reason why you just don't really feel comfortable talking with people or communicating your ideas, which a lot of people don't, it could make leading hard and make it be a situation where you need to work at. For me, I'm lucky to be naturally confident, and I'm able to voice my opinion and give my ideas. So I thought that quote was good. So moving on to chapter 14, the first quote that I discussed is going to be, it's always important to be aware of the communication norms in the workplace. This section number wasn't given, but it's titled Consider Quality of the Message. In this quote, the author describes the acceptable way to communicate is by doing it the same way everybody else is. This is a sure way to try to ensure that other people will understand what you're communicating with them, because they recognize it. It's the same form, the same pattern, the same way that they would do it, so they're understanding it. If you are communicating but it is in a different way, then this can still cause a lot of miscommunication simply just because they didn't recognize what you were communicating. I understand the frustration of situations like this. You find yourself having to adapt completely to another communication style, simply because if you don't, then there will be no communication with another person. So it happens often in groups, and it is kind of inevitable to avoid. So yes, the quote is very relevant. And the final quote is, whatever the type of document they are preparing, writers should consider the tone of their message. This is found in section 14.1.2, writing with appropriate style. Tone refers to the attitude that the writer has towards both the audience and the subject at hand. The author explains that connecting tone with writing complements the words, and you must adapt the tone to your reader. Personally, when I read, tone is one of the first things that I look for, but just is the most obvious to me. When I like to read in my head, and so whatever tone I feel the writer is giving, I'll adapt that to while I read as I go along, And yeah, it just kind of changes the understanding of the text depending on how you think that they feel about it or how they're saying it. And yeah, those were my quotes for this week's readings.